I think this is the one golf show in America that has spoken the least about Bryson DeChambeau so far. He always
We've
seems
had
to
more
be the
Duffner
center.
than DeChambeau so far.
Hey, it's okay. We got to balance it out.
Hey there, I'm Ryan Burr. Welcome to our second episode of the Making Birdies podcast, the show where we talk golf bets leading up to the biggest events of the year. And this week certainly qualifies as one of those major events, the Wells Fargo Championship for the top 5 players in the world, all heading to Quail Hollow. The only player that won't be there is Dustin Johnson. This is a man's golf course. We will get into it. Par 71, over 7,600 yards. Rory McIlroy, the only 2-time winner. So excited to dive in and tell you the trends and numbers that will produce a winner this week at the Wells Fargo Championship. And DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, is working with us every step of the way. Every bet you hear us discuss, you can find on the DraftKings app. There is no better way to gamble. And with all the fun sport events going on right now, now is a great time to sign up and play. If you are signing up, I have 2 pieces of advice. First of all, go and follow Making Birdies on all your social media accounts and subscribe to the podcast so you can hear and see all of our best bets every single week. And do us a favor, tell us. We have been absolutely red hot. And the second, use the promo code BURRDIES, that's BURRDIES, to get this 55-1 odds Saturday when Canelo Alvarez and Billy Joe Saunders step into the ring. Take either fighter. 55-1 odds. That is a ridiculous deal. All you have to do is use the promo code BURRDIES, BURRDIES. Our first guest needs little introduction. He's a 4-time winner on the PGA Tour, Notah Begay III. Notah, I started off the show with just how excited it is at Wells Fargo this week, Quail Hollow. We know it's one of the great golf courses in America, hosted a major championship, will host the President's Cup next year, but hard to believe the Wells Fargo Championship about the midway point of the PGA Tour season. Taking a look at the first half, just one major so far, Hideki Matsuyama putting on the green jacket at the Masters. Your observations of the first half of the season?
Well, it was great to see Hideki put on the green jacket at the Masters. What a great performance, and what a great betting opportunity for a lot of people who actually had him on their ticket. But just a lot of interesting storylines. You look at Bryson DeChambeau sort of just has garnered a lot of the attention just on all of the different ways he's approaching these venues and how he's going about his business with the added length and whatnot. And another interesting thing on top of that, guys, is, there's 20 years difference between the only 2-time winners on the tour thus far, and Stewart Cink and Bryson DeChambeau. Stewart at 47 years old, still sort of holding the torch for us old guys out there that they can still get it done at the highest level. Interesting story with Stewart. I ended up hosting him on his recruiting trip to Stanford, and I obviously, guys, didn't do my job because he ended up going to Georgia Tech and doing some wonderful things for them there. So great to see him playing well. He's in the field this week at Quail Hollow, so should certainly keep your eye on whether or not he's going to be able to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's been red hot. He was ridiculous at Harbour Town, as we know. Very different style golf course, though, than Harbour Town. Notah, we've played a couple of golf courses lately where obviously strokes gained approach was so key. Harbour Town, certainly Innisbrook, Valspar. This a completely different kind of course, Quail Hollow. We know Justin Thomas won a major championship there. Actually, Hideki was in the hunt, and we talked about the President's Cup next year. It seems like driving strokes gained off the tee is the absolute number this week. Talk to me about Quail Hollow. What makes this event so special?
Well, it's a championship golf course, and I know that we use that designation quite a bit on the PGA Tour, but there's only a small percentage of courses out on the tour each year that do deserve that designation, and Quail Hollow is one of them. It's extremely demanding from the start to the finish, but it is particularly it does favor players that are long off the tee and then have an ability to get it in play. And that's why I think Rory McIlroy has such a good run here. I mean, you look at just how he's performed over the past few years. He likes the venue. It's his first start in 3 weeks. If he can just find some sort of middle ground with his iron play, he's having his worst statistical performance in the last 5 years with his iron game. Everything else is okay. I don't think everybody should be throwing out the baby with the bathwater here. This guy can show up at any minute, get hot with the driver, put himself in the driver's seat. You know, he's a great he's a great front runner. So I think that's why this place sort of suits him, because it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, and he has not been good, Notah. Let's not sugarcoat it. He's missed 3 of his last 6 cuts, including the Masters, which is the easiest cut on the board to make. So this is not the 2015 Rory McIlroy that won by 7 shots showing up at Quail Hollow. For the absolute main guy in numbers, there is no one better than the business. You see him all over the place. It is big ticket Justin Ray. Ticket, give me your number this week. Give me the stat out there about this week's Wells Fargo Championship that just jumps off the page for you.
So the most significant thing is something you mentioned already, is that there's much less emphasis on strokes gained approach for winners at Quail Hollow than we typically see on the PGA Tour. And on the surface, that seems kind of odd, right? Because the one major championship we've seen here, 2017 PGA, won by Justin Thomas, arguably the best iron player on tour the last 4 or 5 years. But since 2010, winners at Quail Hollow have an average strokes gained approach rank that week of about 29. Compare that to the PGA Tour average for winners during that span, 13. So it's an enormous gap there between what we've seen winners at Quail Hollow do with their approach play and what we typically see on the PGA Tour. In contrast, what we see is that players gain an atypical amount of strokes off the tee than the typical winner on the PGA Tour. So what you guys talked about with Rory McIlroy, think about one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world. He's also the only 2-time winner of this golf tournament. So great putting is also rewarded a little bit more than usual when it comes to tournament winners. In all, tournament winners at Quail Hollow since 2010 gain about 70% of their strokes off the tee and with putting, which is a big stark contrast to, for example, what we saw last week at the Valspar, where approach play was so significant. So for me, when I'm looking at players, I'm looking at great drivers of the golf ball and guys who can capitalize on those birdie opportunities on the green.
And he brings in, Ryan, he brings up a great point. It's sort of a bookend type of approach here. It's tee and green productivity that's going to sort of propel players up that sort of leaderboard and give them a little bit of a statistical advantage. So when you're evaluating your picks, just be sure to look at guys in the strokes gained off the tee category. Lots of information out there available through a variety of different platforms that you can go out and just sort of see who's trending in that direction. And I've got a couple unique looks later in the show that I'll be able to share with everybody.
The hits literally keep on coming from one boxing event to the next. They grow in excitement and anticipation. And this weekend is no different, with 2 of the sport's most respected fighters stepping into the ring Saturday night. There is no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. For this weekend's fight, DraftKings is offering all new users a shot at turning $1 into $55. To celebrate this weekend's huge event, DraftKings Sportsbook is offering new users the opportunity to get 55-1 odds on either main event fighter to win this weekend's fight. Plus, with basketball and hockey playoffs right around the corner, DraftKings Sportsbook has even more ways for you to make it rain. DraftKings Sportsbook, it is safe, secure, and reliable, meaning you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code BURRDIES, BURRDIES, when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users can bet $1 to win $55 on this weekend's main event. That's right, DraftKings Sportsbook is going all out for new users by offering them the chance to win $55 when placing a bet of $1 on this weekend's big fight. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 and older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Talk about McIlroy. He's played this event 9 times. He has 7 top 10s, but he's only the 5th betting favorite this week on DraftKings at plus 1,900. That tells you how much McIlroy has been struggling. With that said, let's talk long shots, Ticket. You're the best at the business of digging into the numbers and telling us who the best long shot pick is. Who's your long shot?
So I'm going to stick to my formula of driving and putting here being more significant and where players are going to gain the most strokes. There are only 10 players on the PGA Tour this season who averaged half a stroke gained per round off the tee and have positive strokes gained putting. 9 of those guys are pretty much household names for golf fans. Number 10 on that list, Cameron Davis. I see him at 100-1 to win this week. If we're going to stick to this formula, he's a guy with a very high ceiling. He's made 3 of his last 4 cuts, top 10 on the PGA Tour in strokes gained off the tee. He really fits that statistical profile. I think there's some value in Cameron Davis way down the board here for a win.
Wow, you're going way off. I'm gonna go even further off the board on you guys. I'm going with Jason Duffner as my long shot pick. This is a guy. Hold on. I'm sure some people out there are falling out of their chairs right now, but for good reason. This guy, the FBI has been looking for him for a while. They have not been able to find him, but he did surface last week with a very, very consistent performance. He got near the lead in terms of just moving up into that top 10, headed into the final round, and had not been there in quite some time. He's missed more cuts this year than he's made. That's not a great statistic to have sort of following you around. But he went out, and, he didn't play great on Sunday, shot a 3 over par, 74, but is trending. So I think this is a guy who is very effective with his driver, very effective tee to green. And I think that if you look at just how he's sort of moving in the right direction, I think it's worth a few bucks here and there. Throw Jason Duffner's way.
All right, I'm back in my chair, Notah, on the JD pick for sure. I'm going to bring everyone back to reality from Notah Begay. I'm going to take Lucas Glover as my long shot at plus 8,500. Everyone knows the last 3 weeks, my long shots have been right on the doorstep every week of cashing in. I could see Glover doing it. You take a look at Quail Hollow. He has 5 top 10s on this golf course. He's a great driver of the golf ball, 44th in strokes gained off the tee. Glover, he won't be on anyone's board. We like Glover is one of our long shots. I'll be real interesting, guys, as we move to who to fade this week. If any of you are fading McIlroy, Ticket, what top player are you staying away from this week?
I thought about fading Rory, but the course history is just too strong for me to totally stay away from him. I'm going to fade Patrick Cantlay. He just simply has not been himself the last couple of months. Missed the cut in each of his last 3 stroke play starts. Normally just so consistent from a ball striking perspective, but over his last 4 events, he's losing more than a stroke per round tee to green to the field. That's not a number I like for him this week. He's so talented. He could easily make me look really foolish on this golf course. Haven't figured it out, but I'm going to fade Patrick Cantlay. He just simply hasn't been himself here over the last month and a half or so.
And Ticket beat me to it. I think I'm going to have to fade Hovland a little bit at this venue. I think that he's trending final round 65 this, yesterday. But I just don't think it's the right fit for him. I think you got to be looking more in that upper echelon of guys like a JT or a McIlroy. I'm all in on JT as my favorite pick this week. He just was statistically superb last week. First in strokes gained off the tee, first in strokes gained tee to green, third in proximity to the hole. Like his ball striking is about as good as it's been all year. It's just his putting was horrible. And I think, JT put a little bit of work in this week on the greens, and we'll be all set to go.
McIlroy, for me, guys, I'm kind of with Ticket. I mean, he's missed 3 out of the last 6 cuts, but he hasn't played since that missed cut at the Masters. You got to believe that he has put the work in. The guy I'm going to fade is Corey Connors. I've been on Connors just about every week on this podcast, guys, but he's played every week. I think he's out of gas. We started to see signs of that last week at Valspar. This would be another good course for Corey Connors, but he's played so much golf for that reason only. I'm staying away from Connors, and everybody knows I've taken Connors to the bank a lot this year. He's off my board this week. I think he's just played too much golf. That brings us to our top 20. Ticket, you have been red hot with your top 20s. You have made America a lot of money. Where are you starting this week at the Wells Fargo?
I'm going to go with a guy who won this tournament in 2017 when it was held on a different course, but he statistically really fits the profile here. That's Brian Harman. He's top 20 in scoring average on the PGA Tour, despite being ranked outside the top 100 in strokes gained approach. That tells me he's going to be a great fit at Quail Hollow, gaining a ton of strokes on the field week to week with his driver and with his putter. We all know how hot his putter can get. It's been great recently. He's coming in with 4 straight top 15 finishes. I think he keeps it going this week at Quail Hollow. Top 20 might be even a little conservative for Brian Harman. I like him a lot this week, but I think he's almost a lock for a top 20.
Well, boys, Pat Perez is my lock for a top 20. Absolute lock. A couple years ago, 2017, he finished tied for second. One shot back, headed into the final round, and only to drop a few and finished, I believe he finished 8th behind Max Homa. So this is a ball striking golf course. And, it's no surprise that I'm picking guys historically, maybe not recently, but Perez and Duffner that are starting to show some decent signs. They did do some enough good things for me at Valspar for me to warrant sort of pushing them up my board and thinking that they're going to, have a chance to top 20 for sure and maybe even scare the top 10.
And here's the thing with the Pat Perez pick, Notah, is you're giving America a guy that he is such a long shot that his odds to top 20 are about the same as some of the favorites to win. So you can make a lot of money on that Perez bet if it comes in. I don't know what it is, guys. Seems to be a favorites golf course, but I have another long shot, if you will, for a top 20. That's Aaron Wise. There's something about when he shows up at Quail Hollow, the former NCAA champ out of Oregon, we just get a different Aaron Wise than we get just about every other week. 2018, he was second. 2019, he finished 18th. We know the event was canceled last week. For a long shot to go along with Notah, the Pat Perez is a long shot. Certainly Aaron Wise fits that bill as well. Wise way down your board. So we've given you a couple of long shots there in Perez and Wise to go along with Big Ticket, who's got Brian Harman, who's red hot with those 4 consecutive top 15 performances. All right, Big Ticket, how about a top 10 for us this week?
Well, every year when we come to Quail Hollow, we're all reminded that this guy is a member at this golf course, Webb Simpson. It's been 6 years since he's had a top 10 finish in this event, but I really like the consistent nature of his play through his bag all season long. He finished 12th at the Masters, 9th at the RBC Heritage. He's 5th on tour this season in scoring average. Just an incredibly balanced statistical profile. A guy who goes anywhere he tees it up. He's able to bring that elite iron game and great putter. I'm taking a top 10 finish for Webb Simpson, who guarantee you're going to hear a ton. North Carolina guy and a member at this golf course.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at a Ticket. And I got to go with Neiman here, Joaquin Neiman. He's had a really solid year. He's developed into a very good professional golfer. And I think that this sort of tough major championship type of venue is really going to suit his game. It's, he's long off the tee. He's very aggressive. And it's just one of those players that I think can get in the mix and stay there, possibly scare the win, but certainly have a chance to finish in the top 10.
All right. Webb Simpson is the name I have written down here. So you're going to get an extra one from me. And I'm a lot of things, but stupid isn't one of them. And I have missed the boat so far on Will Zalatoris. I will not miss it this week. I will cash a ticket on the kid. Give me Zalatoris for a top 10. Listen, all of his metrics are phenomenal. The kid's ridiculous as a ball striker. He should fit in perfectly here. We know he went to Wake Forest. So obviously he knows this area of the country, played this golf course a lot. Give me Zalatoris for a top 10. Ticket, how about number 5? Don't steal my pick again, sir.
I'll try not to. I'm going to pick a guy who nearly won the PGA Championship here in 2017, finished tied for second, Patrick Reed. He missed the cut last week at the Valspar, but that does not bother me. Scores weren't too bad, 70 and 72. When he won at Torrey Pines earlier this season, it came immediately following a missed cut. So that's not something that bothers me with P. Reed. He's never missed the cut at this event. A couple of top 20 finishes to his credit at the Wells Fargo, in addition to that great performance at the PGA Championship in 2017. When you combine strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained putting per round, Patrick Reed ranks 11th on tour, a number I like this week. So give me Patrick Reed for a top 5 finish.
That's a bit bold. I don't think it's a great fit for Reed, the venue itself. But I mean, that's why we do this, right? That's why we talk about it, fellas, just to sort of just get our thoughts out there and see what we can come up with. I think JT's a lock for the top five. I mean, just, he won the PGA there. He's just top to bottom, strong, coming off the Players Championship win and just showing some form. Like, a lot of times players will show form in one particular statistical area, whether it's the driver, the irons, the putter, the circling. Last week, he was through the bag, with the exception of the putter, one of the best in the field. And so that's hard to look away from, especially with a pedigreed player that's won at this particular venue. So he's my guy. He's my lock to sort of be tight in there on that top five.
Yep, my top five is Viktor Hovland, and even though he's never played the golf course, it should be made for him. We know how good Hovland is off the tee. Fourth in strokes gained driving. That seems to be the metric that matters here. He's one of the better putters as far as the guys that drive it straight. Comes in red hot, third at the Valspar. Hovland just defies the odds out of everyone from that great crop of Morikawa, Wolf, and Hovland. He and Morikawa seem to be battling for supremacy. Morikawa obviously has the major championship, but I like Hovland for a top five here on a big boys golf course. I'll take Hovland. I know he's not. I know you faded him, Notah, but I think he delivers this week.
Well, I mean, you're comparing it. You're comparing a major champion and a WGC winner to the winner of the Mayakoba Championship. I don't know that that's quite equitable. Taking nothing away from the young man certainly has shown to be able to step up in those high levels. But for my money in the bigger events, it's going to be a Morikawa. But you do what you want, Ryan. It's your money.
It is my money. I've made a lot of it, Notah, and I'll take Hovland to the window for a top five this week. All right, we're down to our last two, our best bet of the week, and then, of course, our winner. Big ticket, give me your best bet.
Well, I mentioned him already. I love having action on Webb Simpson in a lot of places this week. Picked him for a top 10, but I'm going to have him probably the top 5 and top 20, sprinkle him in throughout my tickets all over the place. Just a player who is this consistent on a course he's going to know as well as anybody in the field. For this week and basically every year moving forward when we come to Charlotte, Webb Simpson is somebody who should be on your radar. He's my best bet of the weekend.
And for me, it's going to be Old Man Sink. Old Man Sink's going to get that going again. And I've played so much golf with Stewart over the last 20 or 30 years, all through juniors and college and on the PGA Tour, just to see how he's been able to sustain the high level of play. He knows and has been through all the trials and tribulations that everybody faces as a professional golfer. And he's just coming to a new point in his life where he just understands that, like, the window's closing. So got to take advantage while we can. And when he is on, his approach is so very balanced. He's not going to outshine everybody out there in one key category, but he's going to be very good throughout. And I think that is going to sustain itself this week for Stewart. So he's my best bet to sort of get in the mix.
Get in the mix, maybe a top 10, top 20 performance from Stewart Cink. I mean, this is a long driver's golf course, very different than Harbor Town, but there's no doubt what Cink has done has been impressive. My best bet, because I think he's a guy you can count on, is Tony Finau. This isn't the win by any means, but your best bet to hang around, to make the cut, to win his grouping, to play the weekend. I definitely will have Tony Finau in a top several different areas on DraftKings, but top 10 for sure. Finau this week is my best bet. And finally, guys, we've come to that moment where you get an opportunity to make real money, and that is to call the winner. You put all the metrics. How about the par threes here, guys? You have 3 par threes over 200 yards, 1 at 250. You look at the Green Mile. It is the toughest 3 finishing holes anywhere on the PGA Tour. You cannot fake it at Quail Hollow. With those numbers, big ticket, who ultimately wins?
So I'm going to take the guy who's the best driver of the golf ball in the world right now, and I think he's due for a big week, in Bryson DeChambeau. The last time he played here, he finished solo 4th in 2018, and that was before he evolved into Bryson 2.0 that we know now, who's the longest player on the planet. Last two starts at the Match Play and the Masters, those were courses that valued very different skill sets than we're going to see this week. So I don't put a ton of stock in the performances there by Bryson. We're kind of mediocre by his standards. What Bryson does best is so statistically pronounced at Quail Hollow. I hit earlier this season picking him to win at Bay Hill. I'm going to pick the big golfer again. Give me the guy who's going to hit it further than everybody. Brian, you mentioned those long par threes. He excelled on those at Bay Hill when he won. I'm going to take Bryson DeChambeau, guy we haven't talked about a ton yet on this podcast, but I like him a lot this week.
You're right, Ticket. I think this is the one golf show in America that has spoken the least about Bryson DeChambeau so far. He always
We've had more Duffner than DeChambeau so far.
Hey, it's okay. We got to balance it out. Bryson, 2.0 is 2.0 this week for me. I'm going JT all the way. JT is all the way. He's taking this one to the house, coast to coast. Just like LeBron's going to end up with a slam dunk on the end, and that's going to be the W.
All right, guys. My winner this week, and when I read you these numbers, he's been downright scary. Ticket, you say we don't talk about DeChambeau. How about Jon Rahm? You look at what Jon Rahm has done under the radar, and his bad weeks now are top 5, top 10. That's where Jon Rahm is at. He's been in the top 10 in 8 of his last 10. 8 of his last 10 inside the top 10. Top 5s, you look at the Masters, Match Play, and Genesis. The only thing that scares me about Rahm is obviously, as Big Ticket, who's expecting a son soon, will understand that we don't know what the sleep factor's been for Rahm. He's been at home taking care of that newborn, but I think he shows up with some major daddy power, and I got Jon Rahm winning at Quail Hollow this week. So I think, guys, when you look at it all the way around, and Notah, I'll give you the final word on this. You get 4 of the top 5 in the world. You get some of the best players on a great golf course. I think we can expect fireworks this week on Golf Channel and CBS.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see players that sort of matriculate or move their way to the top because it just identifies quality, high caliber players. And that's why you see such a strong list of winners over the years and a strong list of players that are able to contend. And I don't think that's going to change. I think everybody needs to keep an eye on McIlroy. He's a guy that just his stats aren't terrible. They're just not what we're used to seeing. And if he gets that driver in gear and just somehow finds a little bit of rhythm, now I had 3 weeks off to work on it. And I agree with both you guys. He is out at home working on it, trying to just get a little bit of a better feel with that iron game. He could certainly pop his head up very early in this event.
All right, guys, Making Birdies, MAKINGBURRDIESS. Following us on Making Birdies. We'll fill you all the way in, all the way up to that final putt at Wells Fargo. Download the podcast wherever you find your podcast. It is available. Making Birdies, once again, ready for a great weekend at the Wells Fargo Championship. For the Big Ticket, Justin Ray, 4-time PGA Tour winner, Notah Begay. I'm Ryan Burr. Enjoy the Wells Fargo, and Making Birdies is where you'll make some money this week.